I gave a pack of seeds to everybody in the audience. And, not only do we all have seeds, I have seeds of potential that I've not realized yet, and you do too, but everybody in their offices have those same seeds of potential, and we have to water them and nurture them and help them to grow.
Welcome back to the Cannonball Mindset, and I am sitting with one of my most favorite people in the world. And not often do you get to be great friends with somebody, share same vision, same mindset, also do work with them. I'm saying this is all kind of all my worlds collided.
Yeah, it's been great.
When I met Missy Manuel. So Missy is wife of former guest Greg Manuel, part owner of Manuel Builders. But really, we connected on really a mindset, transformation,
personal growth junkies,
personal growth spirit junkies. And she is a leadership life coach,
and leadership coach,
holistic, right? Like all things growth.
Yes,
really,
yes.
right?
Spiritual, emotional.
Everything.
Yeah.
John Maxwell certified.
Yeah.
We avid reader. We share books. Yeah. We're constantly sharing books back and forth.
Always reading, always learning, always growing. Sometimes
always reading, always learning, always growing.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard you say that. And I just thought it'd be cool to have this interview. You have your own practice, the Thryve, which is if you don't follow Thryve on Facebook, on social media.
Thryve with a Y.
Thryve with a Y.
Yeah.
If you don't follow it on social media, make sure you do, because it seems like every day you put out great
day.
Yeah, great nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
And some, one of my core beliefs is just surrounding yourself with great people that have great messages to contribute, and you certainly are that. So I was like, how cool a podcast would this be, just to kind of talk about growth and mindset. So where did this start for you? This journey to for personal growth, personal mastery, personal fulfillment. Did it start with you trying to master yourself, or did it start, hey, I want to help other people? Like, where did it start?
Well, it started, I was totally not aware of anything growth. I didn't even know my strengths, my weaknesses. I was working in what I would consider my most weakest skill. I was an administrative assistant, paralegal. That is I have no giftings in that. I was just a really hard worker. And so I'd go in early, I'd stay late, and the guy kept me because I did an average job. But I was, I'd look around and see that it was really easy for some people, but it was very hard for me. And, but I didn't know any better, so I just kept working at that job, just thankful to have one. And
how old were you?
Probably 22, 23.
22, okay.
And then a guy came in who was a vocational expert that we worked with, and he said, "You're not in the right field. You need to come work with me." And so I had been there, I guess, 5 years working as basically a secretary. And so I transferred to work with him, and he just encouraged me, because I quit school 3 hours from a college degree.
What?
I was just frustrated. I didn't know what I wanted, and I was just lost. And so he really took me under his wing, and he's like, "You got to go back to graduate school. You need to get, a rehab counselor master's, finish your degree." And so I did. Went back, got with 3 hours, I quit. I ended up going back and having 15 hours because I'd waited long. Got my degree, got my master's degree, and then worked for him. And that was more, I was beginning to learn what I was good at, learn about myself. So I worked with him a while, started a company in vocational rehab, and then started, after a series of events, did mental health counseling, because a guy begged me to come to work for him in a counseling practice, and I did that. And so that's really when the personal growth journey took off, and I was just consuming information. I was just loving growing myself. And then, you can't give what you don't have. So as I would get good information and learn about myself, I would just give that away. And it started there, I think, as just an avid, lifelong learner. And then I came to work here. I had an office in Manuel Builders, but I was still doing counseling and group work. And it just didn't work in a building company,
Right.
to have that kind of thing. And so I began to look around and see that it wasn't as functional as it could be. And that's when I got into coaching, worked with them a while. We had a really hard time. The culture wasn't what it is today.
Mm.
And I was in the middle of that struggle, not sure why I was in the company, but saw there was a lot of need in the company. And so we started working on us. And then I was out of tools. I got certified as a Maxwell coach, and we've just continued to grow. So
So take me back. It's really amazing. Again, I didn't know this until you just said it, but you're 20 some years old, 5 years paralegal, not drop out of school, but quit
I did.
school with 3 hours left. And you said you were just lost.
I was lost.
You
I
were
didn't know
lost.
myself at all.
So now you meet this guy who says, no, you should come work for me. You're leaving the certainty of what you've known
Exactly.
to go for the uncertainty of what you don't know. Take me through that decision, because clearly that was a pivotal moment in your growth, right? To have somebody that poured into you, like had you had seen that
but for
before?
someone to see something that I didn't see, that was huge for me. And I began to kind of believe that what he was saying was true, that there was more in me than what I was displaying there. And I think that's so how it happens when we breathe life on a gift that someone may not even see. It brings it to life. And that's what he did for me. And it wasn't like he was the greatest leader, but he just spoke something in me that I didn't know was there. He breathed life on it, and it just took off from there.
He breathed life on it.
He breathed life on that gift. And it was kind of hidden in I wasn't aware of the gifts that I had.
So now it's coming to life.
Well, and once I began to work in our business, I didn't want anyone else to be caught without being in the right seat on the bus, having someone personally investing in them. And so my mission in Manuel Builders was everybody has to have an opportunity for growth and to fulfill their potential. And so with, coming out of that, not knowing who I was, not fulfilling my potential to seeing, then I wanted to give that away. And so that's how it started with Manuel Builders. And then I wanted to also give that to other companies, because when I began the work with Manuel Builders, Greg began to like his job again. Mm-hmm. And people wanted to work here, and it was just a good place to be. And so I wanted to share that with other companies. And that's kind of how Thryve started. But I do a lot of one-on-one coaching too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is let me ask you a question. So take me back to do you think people are just unaware of, like, you were in that position for 5 years?
It probably would have been another 5 if he wouldn't have seen me.
So do you think, like, what causes that unawareness for, like, how do you not, like, for me, I'm thinking I didn't realize I was broken until I started healing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that.
I knew there was brokenness, and there was, I knew there was brokenness. I didn't know the gifting was there.
Yeah,
I just didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know what the gift was. So now you've made it your personal mission to make sure that everybody knows.
Yes.
That they have a gift. So when you see an employee, or you see somebody, maybe not even an employee, but you see somebody, do you refer back to, man, that I was that person for 5 years, where I interacted with people all day that never invested the time into breathing light into my gifts, or to noticing that I'm capable, worthy of more than what I have, or what I see now.
Right. And, I did a little presentation a while back, and it's, I gave seeds to a pack of seeds to everybody in the audience. And, not only do we all have seeds, I mean, I have seeds of potential that I've not realized yet, and you do too.
Yeah.
But everybody in their offices have those same seeds of potential, and we have to water them and nurture them and help them to grow. And it's not like it doesn't benefit us, but that's not really the reason we do it.
Yeah.
And so I just have a heart to help people thrive. That's why my business name is Thryve.
So why don't people realize that? Why don't people realize
I think
that
some
they
is
have
lack of
seeds?
awareness, and then there's just fear of what am I going to have to face in this growth process, because it's not easy.
It's not
But
easy
it's not easy to stay stuck either.
Right. It's not easy to stay stuck.
Right.
Right. Somebody said I was watching a pastor that I really loved this morning. I watch him every day. And he said his talk was, when we're stuck, we get stupid. And then when I first heard it, I was like, what? So he said, we make dumb decisions when we're stuck. We don't think clearly when we're stuck. And he went on and on about this idea. And when we're stuck, that's not easy either, like you just said, right?
It's very much not easy.
Right? We know we're stuck.
Right.
We know that something's amiss, but we're afraid to face it. And so do you think that's the role of a leader, of a coach, of a human being?
I definitely do. And, I think what fuels my passion even more is coming from a family that didn't see their potential either.
Tell me more about that.
Well, just my dad was an alcoholic. My brothers really didn't do anything with their lives. My sisters kind of did, but I just remember at 12, like, preaching to my dad that we could do better than this. You could get it together, and never saw that come to fruition. And so that passion, that was there. And then when someone helped me to see it and I saw, it's just
It was like the
like,
ignition.
I can't stop. I can't help, but people ask me, why do you do what you do? Well, you don't have to. And it's like, I can't not.
Yeah, you don't have to now. I'm saying, we had your husband on, and I think he even said in the podcast that we're most likely financially okay for the rest of our lives, but I can't stop.
Yeah. And that was not him. He was wanting to quit every day. It was like, oh, Lord, what are we going to do? But yeah, he was ready to quit every day.
But now it's a shift.
Now he loves his team. He loves coming to work. It's
loves
fun.
growth. He loves.
Yeah. And if people could just see that, I mean, it's work, but that can be them.
What's the hardest part about it? What's the hardest part about, I believe that people change for one or two reasons, either desperation or inspiration.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part about that? Because there's people that are listening right now, and this is the number one reason why I started the podcast, was because I believe that most human beings want more.
They do. I believe that.
They want more. Whatever more means to them. They want more love.
We were created to be fruitful.
Right. Fruitful. Abundance, right? They were created to have abundance. They want more. But they've convinced themselves that what they have is all they can get.
Right.
Right. Where I am today is my destination, which isn't true.
But it's their programming.
Yeah. So so it's a program. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's, we are conformed or shaped by the world. We come into the world with an ability to have a pretty healthy, functional life. And we all need the same things. We know when I was counseling, people would come in the door and it was like one after another. And it was the basic same issues, core issues that they had. It just looked a little bit different. And so we all have the same core needs. And when those aren't met, then we build a belief system. I'm not enough. I can't do this. Whatever the belief system is, which causes emotions,
Right.
which causes behaviors or patterns. And then we think it's just the way life is. And until we begin to challenge those beliefs, we stay stuck. And we think You teach the program equals the results.
Right.
You want to change the results, you got to change the belief system.
Right. You got to change the whole system.
Yeah.
And so the idea of convincing somebody, and this is where I think it becomes really hard when you're a coach or when you're an individual that believes that every human being was created for abundance, and you see somebody that you believe is stuck.
Right.
Or somebody that's not living up to their capabilities, or somebody who is one shift away from having a life of love or abundance or whatever it may be. There's a lot of resistance that you're going to get hit with.
Sometimes.
Right? Because if there isn't resistance, then they would have already been on their path most of the time. Right? So
well, it depends on if you're speaking inspiring stuff to them. I think they're more willing to want to grab hold of that, even though they might not believe it right away.
Yeah.
But it's when you're confronting a pattern that's getting in the way to their success. That's when they're resisting.
So give me an example. What do you mean by that?
So, for instance, somebody has a pattern of not wanting to see insecurity or a pattern that's getting in their way, like they're defensive whenever you give them a new idea. They don't want to hear it because it's shaking them out of their comfort zone. They'll bring anger to you, which puts you off. Yeah. And that keeps them unhealthy, but it keeps them safe.
Correct.
So the exact thing that's protecting them is really not protecting them.
Mm. Yeah,
it's really keeping them stuck.
Right.
So
how do you fight through that? As somebody that wants to breathe, go back to that guy. Go back, you're a paralegal. Mm-hmm. He comes to you and he says, listen, you're in the wrong seat. You're not living up to your potential. There's another level of your greatness. Right. At that very moment, you could sort up, shield out, fend off. Like, you don't know me. You don't know my situation. I was, I have bad program. I had an alcoholic father, family. And that forced you to stay where you are. And that guy could have said, oh, okay, no problem. But he persists. And I don't know what happened, but he persists. And he says,
and the things that he was saying, somehow I wanted to believe those things. Like deep down, I knew that there was more. Right. And it took him just speaking it. And then the more I would begin to walk in some of the things that he was asking me to do, the more confidence I got. Yeah. And so it built momentum. And then it was, I can do this. I can finish graduate school. I can have my own business. Yeah. But again, I think we have to be willing to be vulnerable and be willing to be uncomfortable.
As the receiver. But I think this is the part that I'm getting at too, is that as most people will shy away from that conversation because in order
exposing.
In order for me to deliver, in order for him to deliver that message to you, to plant the seeds that there's another level of your greatness, that takes a lot of courage on somebody's part, right? Because you could be met with defense behavior. You could be rejected. For somebody to, and that's what I think. Here's the thing: like, of your people, all the people you coach, what's the percentage of people that want it? That consciously want it. There's a lot of people I think want to be better, want people to coach them unconsciously.
They're willing to do the work.
Right. That meet you and be like, gosh, she's pouring into me, but I don't want to be poured into on a conscious level. That takes a lot of,
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
But most of the people that come to me want to grow. But there are people that I work with and have worked with that they don't get it and they want to keep their personal life from their business life, and if there's a pattern getting in the way, they don't want to deal with it. They don't think it's a big deal. They don't see the growth on the other side that's available to them.
Yeah, because if I only worked with people that want to work with me, I would probably be unemployed. The idea that I coach, a couple hundred people a week. I would say 70% of them want the coaching and 30% don't. But it can't deter me from not doing it because I believe this is my mission, my calling. I think this is where God put me to be here, right?
I mean, definitely in the business, I run into people that are at different levels of buy-in.
Yeah.
But if someone's going to hire me, they usually want growth.
Yeah.
Unless a business owner would hire me and they want me to fix their people, and that
Correct.
usually doesn't work.
Yeah. So do you think the idea is for you as a leader, do you think as a coach, as a leader, do you think you can force people to change, or you think you have to plant the seeds for them to change?
I think you have to plant the seed. Someone else may harvest it, but
Yeah.
I think we have to. I mean, as I would feel negligent as a leader if I didn't plant that seed.
Right. It's incumbent
It's my
upon you.
duty.
It's your moral obligation
Mhm.
when you see somebody with potential to plant the seed. So tell me more about the idea of, you talked about it's your programming, right?
Mhm.
You overcame the programming. This guy
I think
breathed life
that's a
into you.
lifelong journey.
What do you mean?
Is lining up our programming to truth. Because I think we all have stuff that is unconscious in our subconscious that we bump into, and then we can work through it as it comes up and we become aware of it. But I know there's programming in me and you that we're not quite sure it's there. We don't know it's there. It's in our subconscious.
Yeah.
It's the iceberg. It's 10%
Yeah. What we
at the
see.
top. And then when we bump into life and it triggers us, that's when we can really begin to search what's going on with me. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Where did that come from? Is this true?
But how do you do that? So when you bump into programming that's conflicts with the life you want, right? So
Well,
how do you if you were coaching somebody and they said, "Hey, listen, I'm with you. I'm on this growth thing, but I'm having trouble overcoming this. I'm running into this problem constantly over and over again." How would you coach them on that?
Well, if it's a behavior that they keep picking up,
Yeah.
or if it's emotional upheaval, I'd probably start with them journaling. Because, I mean, wherever our mind goes, our feelings follow and our behavior follows that. So I would ask them, what is the emotional upheaval? Is it anxiety? What's causing, what am I thinking? What are you thinking there? What's familiar about those thoughts? And really, a lot of times we have to go back as leaders to go forward. Um,
Oh, can you hear? Hold on a second. Can you hear? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
we have to go back to go forward, and our programming. I mean, we've been conformed by a lot of people have programmed us. Teachers, people, we've programmed. Something happened to me. I assumed that I wasn't enough because of that, and so I'm programmed that way. And it's a matter of really, where did that come from? What's familiar about that? And going back there and doing the cleanup work.
Mm. So you mentioned journaling. Why journaling? Like what's the significance? And I think a lot of people hear, hey, journal, write it down. Right? Why is that so important?
Well, journaling taps into a different part of your brain when you put pencil to paper. But if our brain's not a container to hold information. If I can put it out and I can reason through, I can see, oh, wow, I believe that. That's what's going on. It brings clarity. And it's a practice I use every day.
And important, but one that a lot of
Very
people
important.
won't subscribe to. There was I forget what book it was I read it in, but back when we were at war, when we were in wars, and uh, they would get captured by our enemies. I remember I read the Chinese would literally make American soldiers, prisoner of war, write down American propaganda, like things against America.
Oh, wow.
And the more they wrote it, the reason they did, they said it was mind warfare, because the more they wrote down, these prisoners of war wrote down things about anti-American things, the more those Americans started to believe it, and the more
Yeah.
they started to believe it, the more information they would give up. Is that because that writing is so powerful that you really do believe what you write?
Well, in the healing process, or in the getting to the bottom of why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, or what am I thinking, that's just to see it on paper, because
Yeah.
we just keep rolling it in our brain to get it out there and kind of look at it like,
Yeah.
what am I thinking here? Where did that come from? Um, you're talking about more affirmations and more, we're driving home memory when we I mean, Caroline Leaf is a great
Yeah,
author. It's when we're writing it, we're driving it deeper into our memory.
correct.
And so,
So if we write, so if we have a story, I did this with a school in a high school students in Maryland, where we did this workshop, and we took these kids that have pretty rough lives, and we had them write down what is their life story, and so they wrote down these life stories and how they view their life right now.
right.
And you would read some of them, and there was a couple. I remember there's one girl who wrote, I have a pretty horrible life. I have an absentee father, an alcoholic mother. My life, is going nowhere. And so you're reading this, and like this was her truth.
Right.
And I said, okay, so now rewrite your life story. If you could write any life story that you wanted, write it. And so the same girl wrote down a story of, how she was going to be the first person in her family to ever go to college. She was going to become a teacher. She was going to be married and have 2 beautiful kids, and she was going to contribute to society, and she was going to be able to take
She was writing her vision.
She was writing her vision, right? And so her story had been cemented over and over about what it is currently, but she has the ability to rewrite her story because that new story
right.
can be her new story. That story was her story because that's what she'd been programmed. I'm gonna reprogram myself.
Right.
Do you think that's part of the process of write down what you're seeing now, and then ask yourself, is this true? Does this have to be my destination?
Well, and a lot of times when I'm setting goals with people, it's like, okay, let's play a movie. And if you were seeing yourself in that movie, and they'll rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 4. Okay, so if you were playing a movie and you were functioning at a 7, what would you be doing in that movie? And so, their eyes go this way, and that they're really thinking. And then they'll just kind of, well, I'm doing this and I have more confidence. And what would be missing? Like, what would you have to get rid of to be functioning? Well, I'd have to get rid of, my lack of confidence and probably my patterns of, isolation and not resolving conflict. And like, they begin to paint their picture, and then it's like, okay, so let's work towards that there.
I love that. So shifting to the more of a leadership role, what do you think is lacking in leadership? Like, what is the core thing that lacks you have a leader who is not effective? Not what lacks? What are the qualities they need to be a great leader? What do you see lacking in today's leadership?
That's a hard question because all leaders are different. I think they have to be on their own journey of growth. You can't give what you don't have.
So you can't be a leader. You can't be a leader if you're not pouring into yourself and on your own growth.
You can be a leader, but I don't know that you can be a great leader. I think people have natural leadership abilities, but I think you have to continue to grow. You have to be looking inside. You have to be peeling the onion of yourself. I mean, if I'm not doing it for me, how can I do it for you? How can I help you take that journey if I've never gone there?
Do you think that's one of a leader's main responsibilities is to help your people grow? So if you look at the leadership that you have here, and again, we talked about with Greg what an amazing culture it is here, and he, even to your point earlier, said it wasn't always that way. But now you have some pretty solid leadership here. Do you think that it's their responsibility to grow others? Do you think that's their main? What's the main purpose of a leader?
That my heart is that every leader is growing their people under them, and that's through one-on-ones monthly. And not everybody knows exactly how to do that. We have forms and stuff like that, but if they're not on their own journey, I don't know that they can do it as well as we're wanting them to. So we continue to grow them, and then they can continue to grow the people that roll up to them. But at Manuel Builders, it is a growth culture. So if you're not willing to grow, you really probably don't fit, and you probably won't last here.
Right. Not because, again, you're on your journey, but to be here, you believe that you have to be on this culture, this mission of growth.
Right.
And forever, right? Like, is there a point? There a point that you just say, "All right, well, I'm done growing"?
No, I think a lot of people come in, to me for coaching and want it to just be done. Like, let's just get this done. But it never stops. The cool thing is that I can give them tools and they can keep journeying through and keep getting more revelation, more truth, and keep growing. But it doesn't end. I mean, my best friends that I worked with as a counselor, she's 73. She's the best therapist in town. We're all on the journey. Like, and when I stop growing, I don't know what would happen. I need to just go home if I'm
I
going to
just finally
stop.
just say I'm done.
Yeah. It doesn't end. It's a lifelong journey.
So there's not a time when you say, man,
no,
I'm so glad I made it. I'm finally done with the growing.
No, it gets easier because on the other side of the struggle, there's going to be a blessing. There is going to be truth. There is going to be more growth. So you kind of expect that, okay, I'm struggling now. I'm not sure how this is going to look, but it's always, when you repeat that process and that I've continued to get better, you're okay with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. If I know that when I get to the top of this mountain, I'm going to be able to look around, but it's just going to be the bottom of another mountain, then you're now expecting it.
Yeah.
You're expecting that, hey, there's another vista for me, another sight for me to see.
And I think setting expectations with people with regard to that is important. That they don't think, oh, well, okay, I did that and I'm done, and we'll never have to work through or grow through anything else.
It's just the next level, right?
It's just the next level.
It seems to me like somebody had asked me recently, they said, well, Chad, when's going to be enough? And they weren't talking about like monetary or things like that.
Yeah.
They're like, at some point, aren't you just going to get tired with you keep saying you're on this mission?
Yeah.
Aren't you going to eventually get tired? I'm like, well, I'm tired all the time,
Yeah.
right? So I'm always tired, but I'm not tired of learning. I'm not tired of growing. I think part of that is because I spent most of my life not growing.
Yeah.
I spent I'm 45, and I had the biggest shift moment where I decided I was going to take control of my life. I was 23, right? So I'm 46, I'm sorry. So I'm 46. At 23, I decided I'm going to really take control of my life. It was a big shift moment. I had met my wife. And so I spent the first 23 years of my life not really growing. Wandering,
yeah.
Right? Wandering aimlessly.
Yeah.
Not knowing what I was supposed to be doing, not feeling enough, not all the wrong mindsets, right? And so I really feel like I'm a 23-year-old. Does that make sense? Like I feel like I'm on this, like I'm just getting started.
Right.
I look back and I go, it's been 23 years of my life. Wow. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like I'm still on this journey.
And I think the people that say that, because I've been told that too, it's like, when's enough?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is life for me. Yeah. It's not like I'm going to reach a certain point and then it's like, I know enough.
Yeah, it's not a fad.
No, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Somebody asked a friend of mine, they said he's heavy vegan, like full-blown vegan. And he said, he posted something. He said, somebody came up to him and said, when are you going to stop your diet?
Right.
And he said, what do you mean? He said, well, the whole vegan, no dairy, no meat thing, like and they really believed this was going to be like, it's a season for them. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is just my life.
Right.
And I feel like this is my life now. Like, I'm on this journey to figure out when you realize that I think the biggest shift is, and I would love to get your take on this, when you really truly believe, as I do, that you're limitless.
Right.
It liberates you to push to see how much I can honestly take. Like, how much if I'm limitless, and that means I can take more. I can learn more. I can grow more. I can have more. I can give more. Do you subscribe to that? If you really believe you're limitless, like you have no capacity?
I think it goes back to what's the engine that's pushing that behavior. So is it striving? Like, I gotta like be something or get somewhere. I don't think that's a healthy place to be. But I think it's just a true desire to get better. And there's a difference between striving and just like wanting to learn and grow and be the best person.
Yeah, that's me.
The striving is like, I have to have it or I'm not going to be okay in a significance way.
Yeah, like it's ego driven.
Yeah. Or is it just, I want to grow. I love it. I want every seed in me to be planted. And it's not a striving like, I have to have it. I need it. I'm not going to be okay if I don't,
read this book.
And it's like fear of missing out. And do I have enough information and that kind of thing?
I think for me, it's gotten to the point where it's more about contributing. It's like, what can I learn to work through me? Not to me, but through me. Like, all right, so man, if I learn this, if I read this book, I can contribute. I can talk to more people about it. I can improve more lives, because that does the contributing part. And maybe this is not right, or not healthy, but for me, the contributing part gives my life a lot of significance.
Yeah.
So like I do search for significance, but the significance is, how can I learn something, better myself, become better, so I can then contribute it to more people, so they can have a better life. Right.
It's blessed to be a blessing. I mean, it's when we have work that we've worked through, we always, we're to give it back. I think that's just being a good steward of what we have. There were years when I just loved information. And today I want to metabolize that information. I think it's important as leaders that we're, whether you're, teaching or preaching or leading, that we're not getting information just to give it away, but we're getting information, we're digesting it, we're metabolizing it, and then out of that really knowing, we're giving it away, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I've had people teach me knowledge, and it's not the same as this is in my bones.
This is what I truly believe.
Yes. And I know this stuff, and I've walked it out, and I want to share this gift with you.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. As you're saying, I'm thinking to myself, have I taught something that I didn't believe, or I didn't metabolize?
Well, I think because we love to learn. If you have you done the Strengths Finder?
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my top ones is learner.
Yeah.
That's just a strength of mine, and I love it. So it's easy to fall into that. Let me just learn and give it out, instead of really metabolizing it and walking it out and really getting it in our bones.
Really digest and immerse ourselves in it, becoming fully immersed in it, and then
going deep instead of just wide. And I know a lot, but I'm not deep in it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I really like that. Now I got to really think about that.
Yeah.
It's a good one. So, okay. So a couple more questions. So now you're on this journey, this life journey,
right?
When you're contributing to the betterment of everybody else, you're contributing to your own personal growth. How did you shift the culture here? So because even Greg said, hey, it was like, I think he said it was like, for her, it was like running
swimming
in mud.
Through mud.
Swimming through mud.
I just did a post on it. It's, it's hard. It was very hard. Journaling, crying, like, why, God, why am I here? I don't even get it, because I don't know the building business. I didn't at the time. I don't know why I'm here, but I know I'm supposed to be here. And they didn't believe it. They just thought, they would just entertain my groups or whatever, my teachings, when they had time. It wasn't,
and
they didn't believe it.
You were the owner's wife.
And I was the owner's wife, but it was a weird mix, because Greg, was really clear that, these people have been here, and so don't come in and tell them what to do, basically. So I was trying to be obedient. Yeah. And then saw the things that I thought needed to change, but really didn't have a voice yet. And they didn't believe that they were more, what does that have to do with the bottom line? It was more results focused. And I couldn't prove that this soft skill work was going to hit the bottom line at that time.
Yeah, it was going to.
So it was a hard sell, and it was years and years of just swimming through mud. And, you know, I just posted something, you know, when someone starts a wave at a football game, it doesn't always catch on. And it takes passion and it takes persistence. And then when it does catch on, it's magic. You know, it's electric, but it takes, I mean, you have to really believe in what you're doing. Because it was slow.
And now it's
We have momentum now.
Oh, Darren Hardy calls it, you know, the Big Mo.
Yeah.
And it's such
It's a Maxwell thing.
Is it?
Yeah. The Big Mo.
Yeah, the Big Mo. And it's just a great momentum right now.
Yeah.
Of growth.
Yeah. And I love partnering with you because it's just been like, I don't know, you have lit a fire under some of what we've been doing, but it's just another voice and it's bringing it to life. And it's just been a great partnership. I appreciate.
And I think that's why we connect so well. Like constantly sharing podcasts, sharing books, sharing today. So give me, you're a big, give me your 3 books.
Gosh,
gotta
that's
have 3.
hard.
Gotta have 3. You can only have 3. You're on a desert island, wherever you are. What are the 3 books?
The 5 Dysfunctions has been a really huge book for me and us as a team. I mean, I'm a person of faith. The Bible is a huge. It's probably my number 1 book. I don't know. I read so much. I just don't know what one I would. Right now, I'm reading The Motive, which is an amazing book by Patrick Lencioni.
You gave me that today, which I can't wait to read.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
so many good ones.
There's too many.
Somebody asked me which ones I would take, and let's take the Bible off the table because I think that's a given for most people, right? But Man's Search for Meaning was a big one for me. Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, and what would be my 3rd one? Dark Horse was another one. I just read. What's crazy is when I think about books, I start thinking about ones I just read, like are fresh in my mind.
It's hard.
Like Return to Stillness by Ryan Holiday. What's great about the podcast now is I read a book and I'll reach out to the author and like, can I get the author on the podcast? And then I really get to go deeper into the book. Like obviously Jesse Itzler has become a good mentor for me and role model and friend. I started because I read his book.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this guy, I love this guy. I got to reach out to him. And then I reached out to him and you get more behind the scenes of the book. Like you're a big Maxwell person. Yeah. You're heavy into John Maxwell. So you get not just the book, but you get the books brought to life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I love Maxwell. His really the heart behind leadership is just to see people transformed. He's going into different countries and bringing transformation to the government, the 7 levels of, school, government, arts. He just really wants everyone to be transformed and to be all they can be. And that's why I love him.
The intent is pure.
He was in leadership before anyone knew what leadership was. They were all talking management. And he was talking leadership at the time.
And then people followed his.
Yeah. And now he's got momentum and he can throw out anything and it sell.
And he's doing coaching with people like Rachel Hollis.
Yeah.
He's
mentoring Rachel.
Yeah. I'm saying you look at his list of people that he's coached and some of the greatest minds, thought leaders right now, I will all say, hey,
he's a great man.
This was my coach. All right. So 2 final questions. So 1, where do people find you? Where do they connect with you? Where do they follow you? Where do they get more Missy Manuel? Where do they get some?
Well, Thryve Living is more the group page, Thryve Consulting LLC on Facebook, and Thryve is with a Y.
Thryve with a Y.
Yeah. LinkedIn.
Yeah. Connect.
Yeah.
Connect. Find her. I'm saying it's just really good stuff. And you need more people that are just putting good into the world.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. And that is, when you leave this earth 50, 60, 70 years from now, what do you want your contribution to have been?
That I change lives. I think, what that guy did for me, he started it. but he forever changed my life and everybody I touch. And so I want them to say that. She transformed my life. And not that I do it, but that just I had a part in that
You
transformation.
breathe life into my
Because, I
seeds.
mean, things come and go, but people touch so many people. If we can change a life, that changes a lot of lives.
Think about how many people walk by somebody every day and don't, and I'm going to use your expression because I'd never heard it before and I loved it. But breathe life into my seeds, breathe life into my gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could just stop and do that,
Right.
you don't know the effect. That guy could have walked on by. That guy could have not taken the time to tell you. That guy could have said, well, I'm just being paid to do this. And
Right.
But to stop and to breathe life into your gifts changed your life, which
Right.
then changed the lives of everybody that you've affected.
Everybody I've touched. Yeah. This whole company.
Would not be the same.
Nope.
If it,
No.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. All right. Find her, follow her. I have direct access to her, so I'm a better person for it. But find her, follow her, connect with her, and have more Missy Manuel in your life.
Love you, Chad.
Love.